Hello loves, welcome back to TigeraGitana. Today we are going to be covering one of the members voted videos for this week, which is houses in astrology. Okay, so we're gonna be going through every single house. I am going to try my hardest not to talk too much because you guys know I can talk a lot, so I don't want this video to be too long. However, please have your notebooks. Please start writing down notes and everything, because the houses are super important, especially when studying your chart, studying anybody else's chart. Houses literally they rule every single area of your life. There's not one area of your life that is not covered by the houses. So it's a big aspect of our lives, and I want you guys to make sure that you have the concrete information. But I'm not gonna make this video super long, because you guys know I really do talk a lot. So yeah, before I get started though, I just want to remind everybody that there's still tickets available for the workshop. The link will be down below. It's literally almost sold out. I just added a few more tickets, so if you guys want to come through, because it is going to be a private workshop, definitely make sure that you sign up below. And also do not forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell and do all of the things. And if you would like to become a member, you can use the join button below to become a member, and don't forget to hit the like button. Okay, so we're gonna get started. So we're gonna be starting with the first house. Now, in order to understand the houses, there is kind of a need to understand the energies that each houses carry. The houses are in order from Aries to Pisces energy. There's 12 houses and it is in order. So I know some of you guys have I've mentioned this in a couple of different lives and videos and stuff, but Aries is the one that leads the entire astrological pack of signs. It just leads the zodiac. That's what it does. And so it's the first sign. It is the first house as well. It rules the first house, all moving through and navigating through until you get to Pisces energy, and Pisces, the Pisces house. So the first house really takes on Aries's energy, but there's 4 major important houses in astrology, and these are the ones that have the biggest impact. These are the ones that, if you actually think and look at it, have the longest standing impact. They have a lot of really important changes, and they implement and change and make us grow so much through these specific houses. The 4 major houses are the 4 angular houses. I'm not going to get into some of the definition stuff, because I don't want you guys to get overwhelmed with the information. So we're just going to call them the cardinal houses, because that's also what they are. They are ruled by cardinal energy. So the cardinal signs are Aries, which is the first house, Cancer, which is the 4th house, Libra, which is the 7th house, and Capricorn, which is the 10th house. Those are the 4 major houses, and every single thing that they rule has a huge impact in your life. There's not avoiding those 4 houses. You will have these 4 houses affecting you the most. There's trauma that you can get from these 4 houses. There's just a ton of stuff that comes from those 4 house energies, and we're going to get started with the first house as we move through. However, just because that the 4 cardinal houses have a huge force in your life and set a lot of the tones, that doesn't mean that the other houses are not important or just as important. It just means that you'll see a lot of energy move through these 4 houses the most, and you can also take it upon yourself to work with the other houses, because again, they're just as important. Now, your first house is the house of the self. Okay, this house, because when Aries goes on the astrological journey and it starts the astrological journey, that's how the first house is very much defined. It's you in a moment. Where are you going? How are you moving? How are you walking through? What is it? Who are you, and what are you doing in this world? It's who you stand, how you're standing, your individuality, yourself standing in a room full of other people? Like, how are you doing that? How are you carrying yourself? How are you being perceived as well? Because your first house is the representation that you are giving to other people. So you are standing in a room full of other people, and those people are like, oh, who's this person? They kind of look like this, kind of like just from mannerisms and just from intuition and other stuff, people can pick up a lot about you, the way you're dressed, all of these different things. And so it's important to understand that your first house, your ascendant, it's one of the most powerful houses, because again, you have to show up in the world to some capacity. We are constantly being pushed to do something, to show up, whether it be for friends, whether it be to go to school. When we're kids, we pop out of the womb and we're already showing up for our family members, for our friends, for people we end up growing into school and all of these different things. You are thrown into these experiences. You yourself, your first house is how you are perceived, how you are seen, and how you shine in those spaces as well. What your energy, the energy that you give in those spaces. And this is why a lot of the time you can have your first house be different than your sun sign. Even though your sun sign in astrology, the sun signifies your ego, your inner child, and who you are at your core's energy. Your rising sign, your ascendant, can be very much different than your sun sign. If it's the same, then congrats, you have some, ego alignments with your first house. But for those who is not in alignment, there is this kind of energy kind of going, it's kind of like a little bit of a tug, because you think you are a certain way, but other people will still see you as something else. And that perception doesn't make it untrue. It just means that there's other layers to you. There's other ways that people see you. There's other ways that people interpret your energy. You still carry your first house energy. So like, let's say you're a Virgo, but you're a Scorpio rising. Just because you're a Virgo doesn't mean you don't carry that Scorpio rising energy, because you do. And this is why in like ancient times, they would take your ascendant, your rising sign, more seriously than your sun sign, because that is how you actually came out, showed out into the world. That was the truth of it all. That's what the social perception was. And so the way that the first house works is that it really amplifies a lot of your different viewpoints, the things. Think of it as you, like if you were going to paint a picture of yourself, and maybe you wanted to paint yourself with I don't know, a different outfit that you have on, or you had different ideas for different colors, even though you think that you might hold certain things. Other people would see that painting of yourself and interpret it in a completely different way from what you think you are. And so there is this kind of self-awareness, and there is a little bit of a watching the behaviors with the first house as well. Because the thing about an Aries house is that Aries it still has that energy, that impulsive energy, that reaction type energy, because Aries is a cardinal sign. It is a go-getter, is a mover, is a shifter in energy. That's what that cardinal energy means. It is constantly shifting and initiating certain things. So people pay attention to how you move, how you talk, how you kind of take care of certain things, or don't take care of certain things, or how you lie, or how you move funny, or how you're truthful or trustworthy. And that's how people start perceiving you based on these type of behaviors. The action that you initiate is perceived by your first house. So the sign that falls into your first house, you will know if you're using that energy incorrectly, if you're seen as the negative connotations of that specific sign within your first house. So for example, I am a Leo rising. Okay. So I carry Leo rising energy visibly. This is what you guys see. You guys see like Chicapow. You guys see like, funny, like I could talk to her. Like there's always this energy of like, oh, she's cool. She's always happy, or whatever. Like all of these different kind of things. They have a visual and a vibe representation of who I am based on like just meeting me, watching a video, whatever. And then just be like, oh my God, Abby's so cool. Like Abby will understand. Like, oh my God, it's having a very much a sunlight on me at all times. Like I have this kind of like, I'm here, I'm in the room energy. That's Leo rising energy. Is something I cannot avoid. It's something that I cannot hide. It's an energy that I carry, period, because I'm a Leo rising. Now, there are negative aspects of being a Leo rising as well. I could be, like if I'm using the energy incorrectly, I could be more on the egotistical side. I can be very self-centered, very conceited to the point that I don't, that I only love and care of myself, which if you guys know, Leo energy is very loving. There's a lot of like love and sharing. And again, it's that sunlight energy. Sunlight energy is very much Leo rising energy because it's like, hey, I want to share this with the world. Like, hey, love, you know what I mean? So when it is being misused, you have someone who's a Leo rising and very toxic. You have a lot of just focusing on the self, very conceited, very not caring about different types of people, not having empathy, initiating and moving kind of only to please themselves, only to take care of themselves, but not caring about anybody else. So all of these things will be perceived by someone else. So there's different ways to say, oh my God, that person is so egotistical. They're so full of themselves, and have them be a Leo rising and be correct, because that's the energy that's being shown. There's two, it's like multiple sides of the same coin. Like you could still be a Leo rising and not be toxic or not have bad behaviors. And you can be a Leo rising and have toxicity and bad behaviors and still be seen as someone who's a Leo, because both of those energies fall within the same, you know, structure. I hope that I'm making sense, y'all. So there's this energy of self-identity. There's this energy of what you perceive, how you walk into this world is all in that first house energy. And that's why it holds so much of how others see you and why that's an important factor, because regardless of what you want to portray yourself as, the way you move, the things that you initiate, how you move is going to have an impact on how you're perceived. So you can't, even if you don't like what your rising sign is, you can never change it because that's the energy you carry. So you might as well use the energy and analyze yourself to see if you're actually using it in a productive way. Now, the second house. Okay, the second house is the house that's ruled by Taurus. This is when we start getting into our fixed sign energy, and it very much goes in like an order because the signs go in order. So it goes from, you know, cardinal sign, fixed sign, mutable sign, cardinal sign, fixed sign, mutable sign. That's the order that it goes. And so looking at the energy and the vibe of the other houses, while you have the first house being a very initiative, like, you know, think of you waking up every morning, you taking a step. That's Aries energy. That's first house energy. That's what you're, the moves that you're making, the things that you're initiating for yourself. Second house energy is more on the fixed perspective, okay? Because this is the house of value. It's ruled by Taurus. This is a lot of Venus energy in this house because there is a lot of focus on money and value. Taurus rules money itself. It's very much connected to that aspect of Venus energy. Venus will come up later on in this conversation. But, oh, I forgot to mention this. The first house is ruled by Mars. The first house is ruled by Mars, which rules Aries. And it's important because Mars is a very it's a very initiative planet. It's all about passion and drive and focus and what moves are being made. So that's the connection there. Now, the second house is ruled by Venus with Taurus here, okay? And Taurus is all about money, pleasure, enjoyment, and having things, okay? Things you can see, touch, flash, all of the things that you have, okay? All of the things that you have. That is Taurus energy, the things that you value. Look around your room, look around your shoes, look around like the things that you own. The things that you own are in the second house energy, okay? And this is very much connected to like very much root chakra energy, as much as the heart chakra energy as well, just because there is a connection between both. However, because the second house is all about value, that includes valuing yourself, that includes valuing your family, that includes valuing your relationships. A lot of people focus on their relationship energy in the seventh house because it is, or the fifth house, because the seventh house is the house of marriage and partnerships, and the fifth house is the house of, you know, sacral time pleasures is what I'm going to call it, so I don't get demonetized today. And so people forget about the second house and how it is very important, because your second house will tell you how you value, especially looking at how it's all like connected, how you value those type of connections. Are you the type of person that values family, values your relationships, values your partnerships? Depending on what sign you have in that house, you can be a little flip-floppy. Okay, you could be a little, loose with your coin. You could be a little bit of like wanting whatever you want and you just want to collect. Or you could be someone that's really good making money. You could be someone who is who loves spending money more than making it, or making it just to spend it and burn it away. And all of this energy lies in the second house. Okay, and so it's really important to pay attention to this house, because as a society we value money, it takes a really big forefront into the second house energy. And because Taurus energy rules banks, rules, like financial institutions, the stock market, all of that is Taurus energy. And so there is kind of a bigger focus on the finances of it all, because when it comes to Taurus energy, you have to understand that in order for Taurus to enjoy and find pleasure and have value, they need to be able to attain things. And because Taurus is a physical realm sign, it gets real materialistic really quickly, versus, where the first house, and this definitely manifests into the first house as well, because if you're a really materialistic person, it will be shown within your first house, depending on what your first house is, but it will be definitely coming to the forefront. So if you're like, for example, you have a very, you're really like flashy, or you're like into designer stuff in like your second house, you will make sure that you are dressed accordingly, that you carry certain things and stuff like that. That will come through, that has a straight relationship between your first and second house, because it will show how you're spending your coin, what you value, why you value it. If you're someone that likes to collect stuff, that falls under the second house. So the second house is really important, because these are, again, physical realm things, what you own, why that's important to you, why you want to continue to attain things. What do you want to continue to attain? What do you need in your life? What more do you want from life? And what are your goals? All of these kind of things that you value, and then turn into the material realm. You actually physically manifested it into your life. But again, these include physical people as well. So don't dismiss this house, because it does have a really good focus on attaining, getting finances, how you manifest money, how you bring money into your life, do you work hard for money, or does it easily come to you? Are you very lucky with money, or do you have debt work to especially in relation to the 8th house, because the 8th house is the other house that deals with money issues, because it focuses on debt specifically. The second house can tell you, like, hey, like, let's say your second house, you have a sign that likes to spend a lot. Okay, and then you look at your 8th house and you're like, well, this is gonna be debt here, because you like to spend a lot. So it's really important to look at your second house energy, because working with your second house energy really focuses on working with your abundance energy and what you are multiplying, what you're bringing into fruition, what you're manifesting into the physical realm, and how that comes into fruition in your life. It also goes hand in hand with how you your self-esteem. If you value yourself, if you value your own happiness, if you value your own pleasure, it can be a very deep house when you're diving really deep into it, because again, Taurus energy is multidimensional. There's positive ways of looking at it, negative ways of looking at it. Negative aspects of Taurus energy are overeating, because Taurus is also value and love, food. Okay, so that second house, whether if it's badly, like if you have a sign in there that just likes to like have a lot of, or just eat whatever they want or whatever, you're gonna have overconsumption. You're gonna have an imbalance in your physical body, but you adding too much to your physical body. And then beating yourself up about it if you don't want to look that way. So there's just like this whole conundrum with the second house energy. So your self-esteem, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your body, how you feel about how you look in things, that's all second house energy. Anytime you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh, I look good. Second house energy. Okay, why? Because you value looking good. That's why. And that all goes hand in hand with your first house, because you're going to want to represent yourself looking good. Okay. So this is cars, this is houses, this is furniture, this is all things materialistic. Okay, this is you getting a new apartment, this is all of the things. It's very much deeply connected again to the root chakra and to your heart chakra, because you're gonna want to feel good. You're gonna want to love what you have, love what you own, love what you value. Okay. But again, there's negative ways that this can also be manifested and interpreted. So look at Taurus energy and see how it can be misused, and you will find all of the things in there. But overeating is 100% one of them. Overspending is 100% one of them. Spending more than what you have, debt, a lot of different things. So the way that this can manifest. But it's really important to pay attention to this house, because this is the things that we end up accumulating throughout life comes from this house. Now, the third house. Okay, the third house is ruled by Mercury. This is the house of Gemini. Okay, and this is the house of communication. This is the house that really, it really tells you how you communicate. It really does. And this can be a blessing. Sometimes, I don't want to say a curse, but depending on what sign you have on here, it can really not work well in the third house, depending on the sign, because some signs don't want to have to talk too much. Some signs would like to be like, you know, but the third house, because it's the house of communication, it's the house of consciousness, it's the house of interacting with your environment, how you are consciously interacting is all about consciousness. This includes with your family members, your friends, your at work. What is your communication style? Are you too aggressive? Are you too blunt? Are you sassy? Are you like, do you have, speaking issues? Do you stutter? Are you shy? Like, how, when you have to go out and make a speech, like, how are you communicating? What does that look like? And so this is, and also very much connects to any type of transportation or connection that is being made. There's a lot of little Mercury retrograde kind of things that can happen within the third house as well, because you do have, certain things getting miscommunicated or misaligned, stuff like that that can be translated and moved through the third house as well. But your third house also connects to your ninth house energy, because your communication will come from your knowledge. And so a lot of the things that we're communicating comes from things that we have studied, we have practiced, we have grown into, we have put effort into knowing. It's not like your third house is like, oh, look, I know how to speak English. You grow into the language, you grow into the style, you grow into what you're communicating, what you're taught, all of these different things, how your handwriting is, all of these different things. If you love books, if you love reading, all of these different things will be shown to you by what sign is in your third house. Your third house will show you how your communication style is. And so if your communication style is like, for example, if you have an Aries third house, you might keep it very short and sweet. You might end up communicating very simply. Like, I find that like Mercury and Aries and like third house Aries people tend to do this thing where they'll start in their head. I see them having a whole entire paragraph of what they're trying to say back to someone or explain, and then they somehow shorten it to like 5 words. And then that's it. That's all they had to say. So if they're trying to tell someone they love them, they'll just say it in like this shortest way possible. Like, it's amazing to me. But yeah, so the third house has this kind of, it's your mind. It's what your intellect is, how you communicate, what you like to talk about, the things that you're into mentally, the things that you kind of, attract you mentally. It's like a little like buzz. Like, for example, I am a Ravenclaw. I'm very nerdy. I'm just really nerdy. I love to read. Okay. My Mercury is in Capricorn. My third house is in Virgo. So I am very studious. I am very like nerdy. I'm very curious about certain things. I like to take my time learning certain things. I like to, you know, I really plot my way about things. Like I'm very tactical, and that all comes from that energy. And so it's really important to kind of be aware of your third house energy, because for me, my third house energy, I can be very sassy sometimes. I can be very like, again, it's in Virgo. I can't help that. But I have my moments where I'm like instigating, or I'm just, you know, trying to throw shade, trying to start some stuff. Like it ranges from different things. But it's really important to pay attention to how your communication style, how you communicate, why you communicate the way you do, why you find pleasure in it, why it's fun, what you find funny is also third house energy. And the things that kind of like how you trick people, how you lie, all of those things, third house energy. And so it brings you a lot of different options as far as analyzing yourself, because when you're looking at like, okay, well, why do I think like this? Why do I always do this to myself? Why do I, you know, like when you actually try to analyze your third house energy, you can discover a lot of different things about yourself through this house. And this house can also really tell you quite a bit on how you will kind of react, or how you deal with Mercury being in retrograde, and when those type of retrogrades happen, and why you consciously process things the way that you do. Some people have a deeper connection with their third house energy, where they're more conscious or more intuitive, and that's definitely if you have water in your third house, any water sign in your third house, you're gonna just naturally be hella intuitive, or just know shit before it happens. And so this all goes hand in hand to build into that first house energy of how others see you, because how you communicate, it's also a big, you know, factor in that. Now, let's see. Fourth house energy. Fourth house. Okay, so this is another cardinal house. This house is ruled by the moon. Okay, this is the house that is ruled by Cancer. Okay, so cardinal house ruled by Cancer, and again, we're bringing it back to one of the big focuses in astrology, and looking at those four major houses. This is where we just got to the fourth house. Fourth house, house of family. This is also the house of the soul. Okay, it's a very deep house because it's very deeply rooted. If you're trying to look at ancestor work, ancestor trauma on a soul level, fourth house energy. A lot of people just try to just look at it as a family thing and try to just look at it as that, but there's actually a lot of layers, because it focuses on your foundation. That includes your soul. Okay, that includes your soul, where you come from, the lineage, all that, the bloodline, everything. It includes your soul though. So the fourth house is a very powerful house, and there's a lot of intuitive things that creep into this house because it's Cancer and it's a water-based house. It is very, very much based on intuition. And it is also, because it's a very family-oriented house, it's a very nourishment house. This is how we literally grow up. This is the house of how you go from being a child to growing up, because you would have had to, even if you're adopted, you would have had to have some impact by some parental figure to some capacity. Your fourth house is being activated throughout your life, period, especially in the beginning of your life. And this is why you have the fourth house being very early on into Aries' journey through the whole astrology, because you have Aries being born and saying, okay, I see the world. Then you have Aries going through Taurus energy and be like, I like to play with this toy. I like to do this and that. And then you have Aries going through the third house and saying, Dada, mama. Okay. And now you have Aries going through the fourth house and understanding the connection to family. And on a deeper level, when you get older, because obviously when you're younger, you're not going to really understand some of these things unless you have a really spiritual parent and they just teach you some shit. you have this connection to your soul. And so when you're working with your fourth house, it's really important to understand the layers and all of the different ways that you can work with this house. And because it's very deeply connected to family, deeply connected to the ancestors, deeply connected to even the land where you're born in, your country, your heritage, all of that, very fourth house energy. You trying to find out like about your lineage, fourth house energy. You trying to do ancestor work, generational trauma, fourth house energy. And looking at the sign that's in your fourth house will show you a lot of the work that you need to do and how you will carry that, which sign will be moving through. So if you have Virgo in your fourth house, there's a lot of healing that has to be done, and you're going to have to use that energy wisely, unless you want to detach yourself and just hermit away from the family and like not do any work. It's not gonna help nobody. But if that's what you want to do, is what you want to do. You know what I mean? And so this is a very powerful house. There are some people that are very much, some astrologers that are divided on whether or not this is like a mother house or a father house. This is a mother house. I don't know why anybody would be like, oh, this house is ruled by Cancer, but it could be a father. No. No. Cancer is a feminine sign, period. This is not a conversation. This is not up for discussion. I don't care. Don't at me. Cancer is a maternal sign. It is a feminine sign, period. It has deep connections to divine mother energy, period. It has deep connections to divine deities and gods and goddesses, period. It is very much a maternal house. When we're going into 10th house energy and stuff like that, that is paternal, that is more father figure-esque. Okay, Saturn, because the moon is very much takes the forefront of the mother energy in astrology, because it is a very nourishing, emotional planet. Like, the moon is seen in astrology as one of the planets, but it's obviously the moon is the moon, but it is the term that is used, so we're not going to argue with it. So when you have the moon's energy, it being used in this way, and it being like seen as, hey, this is the maternal energies in astrology. The paternal energies, the father energy in astrology is always Saturn, period. Period. Because Saturn takes the energy of what a father does. Now, I'm not saying all fathers are the same. I'm not saying all mothers are the same. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the energy of those things are in separate houses, separate planets. Okay, so I'm not arguing. I'm just letting you know I'm not arguing about this. Now this house is 100% associated to the matriarchy in many ways, and the divine lineage that comes from the women specifically in the family line. And depending on what sign you have in your fourth house, it depends how you're going to relate to it. If you have more of a feminine astrological sign, then you are going to definitely feel certain ways about the father figure or the mother figure in your life. It is just what it is. Depending on if you have like a rough childhood, or a more like you had a harder childhood growing up, or you just had issues relating to one of your parents, or one of the parents was not there, or whatever the case may be. This is all going to fall under your fourth house energy. So looking at the sign that falls in your fourth house energy will help you understand and navigate your fourth house energy, and how you need to heal and react with your family members, how you need to react and heal with, the bloodline, your ancestors, everybody. Okay. And this is a very, very deep house, because again, it also holds your soul, it's your roots. So your fourth house is very deeply connected when it comes to your past lives, when it comes to how things manifest, the things that you're healing and such. definitely comes through with your fourth house energy. And as you grow up, you will have different triggers within your fourth house energy, because the fourth house is very much a grounding energy. Even though it is a water energy, it is a very grounded in the nourishment aspect. So if you lacked nourishment or you had nourishment, there's still this energy of either wanting to have that nourishment or needing to have that nourishment, or wanting to also share that nourishment when, if you end up having kids and stuff like that, how that continuously, you know, progresses through. So this is a house that is constantly triggered to our lives, because in the beginning we have our family members affecting us. Then we grow into different areas of our lives, and we're going to talk about like the fifth house in a second and stuff like that. But your family would be your first, like the tight knit circle. Okay. And even in ancient times, that's just what it was. And then you move in through different layers where you get friends or whatever, get your partner, your relationship partner, you know, connect with them, whatever, however you want to term it, you marry them, whatever. That's when you start seeing your partner as a family member, okay, which is still comes back to that fourth house energy, because when it's decided to have kids, if that is decided, that energy goes back from the seventh house to the fourth house. It is very much an active presence throughout your life's circle, and you connect with that throughout your life period, whether you were adopted or not. There's still some elements of family, wanting to have a family or not wanting to have a family, not wanting to connect with family, or feeling different ways about it, whether being alone or being supported, or like all of these different things. There's a nourishment factor that comes from the fourth house that needs to be 1000% understood, because if there is a lack in nourishment, you're going to have issues, and you're going to see that manifest through the sign that is in your fourth house. Okay. If you didn't have nourishment issues, you're not going to see those things manifest, but then there's other work that you need to do within your fourth house, because there's soul level work that needs to do. What are you meant to do in this lifetime? How are you nourished? So you, again, when you're going through when Aries is going through the journey and hits the fourth house, how is it nourished? What was the foundation that it was given? What behaviors has been passed down? What issues have been passed down? What is it continuously dealing with? The fourth house is very, very serious. And when it is aspected, and it has a lot of different things that can come out. This is the way I'm not going to start naming all of the different things, because there's so many different ways, and depending on the sign that's in the fourth house, it can shine so much in what is there. And for example, having Libra, or even like, let's say Scorpio in your fourth house, lots of death issues, lots of soul level work, lots of like past life work, lots of death energy around as well, lots of trauma, lots of healing. Having Virgo in your fourth house, lots of healing, lots of possibly health issues being passed down in the family. Like, there's so many different ways to look at the fourth house and say, wow, I got work to do. Because your fourth house is, again, this is a house that you are initiating action. It's a cardinal house. Cancer is a cardinal sign, and so you are constantly initiating action, and it has a huge impact on your life, because you going from growing up with your family takes a huge chunk of your life. Okay. And then you end up getting a partner, going through that cycle of getting married, if that is the cycle that you're going through, getting married and then having kids. That is, again, we're going right back to that fourth house energy. So it continues to be a cycle up until you literally die. And so this house is really, really important to just look at, because when you look at the fourth house, you get a lot of information about karmic debt, what your soul's journey is, how to navigate your soul's journey in this lifetime. And it just helps you with the healing process. It also helps you in how to communicate with your family members in this lifetime, what the best course of action, what needs to be done. And that's literally, when you see what your fourth house sign is, that is how you need to start implementing and reacting. So instead of like calling your mom and getting annoyed as to why you're getting annoyed with her or whatever the heck may be, finding different ways of communicating, finding more productive ways that can actually benefit the family line versus just causing more harm to it. So this is definitely a very powerful house. And definitely do not dismiss it, because it has a huge presence for who you are, your soul's journey in this lifetime, and what needs to come out of your life, what you value as far as family, as far as having connections, partnerships, your emotions, your home life, and just tapping into your relationships with people who are like blood, okay? Whether those people are good or bad, period. Now, 5th house. This is such a fun house. We're going back again. We had the cycle of cardinal to now we're going into fixed. So we had Aries and Taurus, which Taurus being a fixed sign. We have the Leo energy in the 5th house being fixed. So the fixed houses are areas that you might not want to budge in. You're just like, you make money the way you like to make money. You like to spend your money a certain way. And this is why it's important to still work with those houses and make sure you're using them productively, because these are the type of houses that will get you into trouble. Okay. The fixed houses will get you into trouble. I am serious. They will. Period. If you look at all of the fixed houses, you will get into trouble. Period. With your 2nd house, you can literally spend too much money. With your 5th house, you could literally be fucking around too much and catch a disease, catch something, sleep with someone's partner, do something wrong, steal something, and end up in going having to pay like for the crimes that you committed. Like, you literally could just get into trouble for being like a little bit too stubborn. Okay, so the 5th house is the house of pleasure. It is the house of Leo. Okay, it's a Leo house. What does Leo like to do? It likes to have fun. It likes to look good. It likes to dance. It likes to be out in the club. Leos like to shine in whatever space that is, whether that be, nerding out and competing somewhere and winning, whether that mean, like, it literally depends on which sign falls into this house, because this house is probably one of my favorite houses, because this is the house of fun. You're having fun. Like, Leos want to have fun. You want to enjoy your life. It's about pleasure. Okay? It's about pleasure. It's about having a good time. It's about chilling, relax, whatever you want to do. What do you find? What is your pleasure? Okay? What do you find? How do you have fun at the end of the day? This is the 5th house energy. I really, really love 5th house energy, because 5th house, it definitely connects to kids, children. It definitely connects to, like, really how you have fun in different types of spaces, your creativity, how you, like, especially if you are a creative person, how you have fun creating. Like, it's a very kind of childlike, like, you're just enjoying your life, you're drawing, you're doing, like, you're just living, you're just having moments of pleasure. This includes, like, activities and, like, even up to when you're grown, like, what you like to do. Like, do you like to watch movies? Are you a nerd? Do you like to travel? Do you like to, like, read a lot? Do you like to go dancing a lot? Do you like to just do your makeup? Are you like a makeup person? Like, this is like, okay, you spent your money in your 2nd house, right? And then the 5th house, we're using those things to have some fun. We're trying to, we're trying to look cute. We're trying to look snatched. We're trying to have fun. And so the 5th house is also a very romantic house, because Leos are very romantic people. They're very, like, flirty, flirt, very, wearing the heart on the sleeve, giving the love to whoever is in the room, really. And so this house deals with a lot of things. Romance, the first, like, 3 months of a relationship, where it's, like, super, like freshity fresh and very, like, showy and PDA and all this kind of things. This is also the house of, like, some cheating activities, some love affair activities, okay? Flirting, sex in many ways. And yes, the 8th house is very much deeply connected to sex, because it's ruled by Scorpio. Yes. But the 5th house is the house of pleasure, which means that if that is something that you like to have and get pleasure from, then that is also included in the 5th house energies. And because Leo is very much about that as well, and because the Leo in this specific house is ruled by the sun, because that's Leo energy, there is a little bit of an ego thing when it comes to the way sex is manifested through the 5th house. Because, for example, if someone, like, doesn't have a healthy fifth house kind of energy. They might be a little bit shy, or they might not feel comfortable doing it, or they might have issues like getting in touch with their body. If you have like, you know, sensitivity issues with your body when it comes to like sex and stuff like that, fifth house. Also eighth house, like I said, also, but fifth house when it comes to receiving the pleasure from it, fifth house. Because the eighth house will take you deeper into the connection of the thing, but fifth house is the fun part of the thing. So this is when we have like a lot of the, like, you know, the fun thing, the sports, the hobbies, the things that you like to do. It's just a really flirty, fun house. Like, this is honestly one of my favorite houses, to be honest. I mean, whose isn't? Like, you're just having fun all the time. But it can, again, deal with certain things, certain issues, you getting into certain situations that might not be so fun. So definitely be mindful of how this is being, you know, what sign specifically sits in the fifth house, because it can show you a lot about what your temptations are and how you can fall for them, and how you want to receive pleasure, or if you have issues receiving pleasure or understanding your pleasure or tapping into your body for physical pleasure and certain things like that. This is where you're going to have your kind of like issues. But for the most part, this is a very fun house. There are people that very much misuse it, of course, and looking at the sign that is in your fifth house can tell you a lot about your love kind of energy, as well as looking at your Venus and the planets and all of the other signs. But your fifth house will definitely tell you like how you are as far as connecting with a partner, what you find fun about a partner, if it's like a longevity type of thing. If you have one of the mutable signs in a fifth house, it might make you very like kind of flimsy kind of person when it comes to long-term partnerships, or just wanting to have like more flings, or not being tied up, and certain different things that kind of people perceive comes from like that fifth house energy, because you want to have fun at the end of the day. And sometimes your seventh house is not something that you want to necessarily use in that extent as well. So there's layers to this. There's definitely layers. So make sure that you are looking at this, because this is one of the houses that definitely connects to the seventh house energy when you're trying to reflect on partnerships long-term, how you care about people, how you have fun with them, all of these type of things. It connects to that seventh house energy. It's not like we just get to Libra in the seventh house and be like, okay, I'm gonna marry you. Like it's all interconnects. All aspects, all houses have to be really activated. And this is when you look at a synastry, you look at how all of the things affect each other, not just one, not just the seventh house, but all of the things. How's the communication style? Is it healthy? Are there issues? Is it going to be fighting all the time? How is the fourth house? Like, how is all, like, what is being activated? What is being triggered? And how is it going to work out? Whew, that was a lot. Okay, so now the sixth house. This is another one of my favorite houses because a lot of people misuse it a lot. Sixth house is the house of health, healing, and serving others. Why? Because it's ruled by Virgo. Okay, this is a Mercury house. It's a very important house. It has a huge focus on not only, it's the duality of yourself and how you represent yourself to others and what you bring to the table. So it's a very powerful house. This is the house that deals with really the mundane stuff, like the house stuff, the chores, the cleaning, the like, even like work to some extent. Like if you just go to work and you know you're on a customer service kind of aspect, or you're just doing something for other people, it falls under this house. Yes, your 10th house is the house of career and work. Yes, we know that. But the 6th house is very much about that as well. If you're in that type of industry, or in like looking at the sign that your 6th house falls into, can tell you a lot about what you like to do for work, what you would do, like if it's something that you would do forever, like something that you like to do constantly. There's a lot of people that I know, or not a lot, but a couple people that I know that have been in jobs for like 20 something years. 1000% their 6th house has to be a sign that can tolerate that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Especially if it's something that you would see, or like they even are like, I don't really care for this job, but I just do it. Like I'm just like, 6th house. Okay, 6th house, period. This is the house that's also very associated with your body, your health, sickness, disease, health, healing, and serving others. It all falls under that spectrum. And so when it comes to the sixth house energy, it's really important to understand not only what you give, but how you are receiving of what you give, especially when it comes to taking care of yourself physically, how you treat your body, how you treat your home space, how you treat your sacred space where you sleep on. Is it clean? Is it messy? Do you have issues within those spaces? Are there issues that are preventing you from like whatever sign is there, like does it keep you scattered? Does it keep you like a little bit all over the place? Are you like incapable of maintaining a healthy balance within those spaces? Do you have issues with like work? Do you have issues with communicating through work, or serving others, or sharing with others, nurturing others to some extent? The sixth house, it very much to me relates a lot to the fourth house, because Cancer and Virgo energy to me are very similar when it comes to nourishment aspect, because both sides are meant to be very caring for, okay? And so this is definitely a powerful house to trigger a little bit of the 10th house energy, especially when it comes to legacy and your work habit. So this is the house, whatever sign falls into this house tells you how your work ethic is. Yes, we're gonna talk about the 10th house in a minute, but your work ethic, what you're known for. Like, does your boss say, you know what, I can trust this person because they're always doing the work, they always come on time, they always know what they're doing. Like, I trust this person for this duty. I trust this person for a promotion. I'm gonna send this customer to this person. I'm gonna connect them because they know the business, the rules, of everything. Or I can't trust this person. They don't know what they're doing. They're slacking. Like, all of that sixth house energy is how you do your work, the productivity that you put into this work. Okay, this is a mutable energy house, so it does fluctuate. This is why we have like issues with the health fluctuating. So whether you were healthy where you were at some point and then you kind of gave up on your body a little bit and then you started seeing issues, it all fluctuates. It's a very mutable house, but we do work through this house every single day. You do use this house every single day. This is like your practices. This is you waking up, brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, whatever, every morning. This is you taking a shower. This is literally your routine. This is the things that are in the cycle that you do all the time. This house is constantly being used. And this is what I'm saying about, just because the other houses are, you know, there's 4 houses that have a huge impact on your life, that doesn't make any other houses less important. This is a house that has a huge presence, and it connects to your work ethic, how you are seen, how you are perceived, how people see you and the work that you do, and why they appreciate the work that you do, how you're serving others in that capacity. So it's a very powerful house to look at your ability to get things done, what the things that you value, as far as like, do you value your body? Do you value your health? Do you take care of yourself? Do you not take care of yourself? Do you have issues taking care of yourself? All sixth house energy. Whew, that was a lot. Okay, 7th house. We're moving through because we're already at 53 minutes, guys. Can you believe? I talk a lot, and I said I wasn't gonna talk a lot, but you know it's all a lie, I guess. I don't know. We're just gonna be thorough. Okay, we're gonna be thorough. Okay, so 7th house. We're in another cardinal house. Okay, so we just went through Cancer, cardinal house, Leo, fixed house, Virgo, which is a 6th house. And this is a mutable energy. So now we're in the 7th house. This is a cardinal house. Again, this is one of the 4 major houses that we use. Period. It has a focus. Period. Partnerships is a huge focus. Period. Okay, so 7th house is very much referred to as a house of marriage, but it's very much the house of partnerships. It's also the house of enemies, because there is still a linking of, when you have an enemy, they're still very, very much being triggered by the 7th house energy. And your 7th house sign will very much shine a light into what kind of enemies you could attract, what kind of enemies you could magnetize, and like in a way that is like, you might like, there's people who might not just like not like you, like not like you, period. Not like your vibe, not like the way you carry yourself, not like the way you talk, just not like you. 7th house energy. And obviously we all kind of go through that kind of energy at some point, because we're not going to always jive and vibe with everybody. That's not a thing, you know. That's not, everybody else's energies is just not, we're not all meant to be like happily ever after. Some people will not be in alignment. Like I have that energy with some people. Like, for example, and I will always say this, Ben Affleck, I cannot stand the man. Cannot stand him, period. Do not make me explain why, because he just sucks. His acting sucks. I cannot stand Ben Affleck. If I saw him in the street, I would just be like, you suck. Because I just don't like him. Okay, there's some people who you would just not vibe with, and that's just what it is. And that is one of mine. So yeah, so that's all coming from 7th house energy. Now, when it comes to the 7th house, because it reflects on our marriage, partnerships, relationships, business partnerships, any type of a relationship that you're connecting, even on a legal way, that is very much a partnership. So like, let's say you are going to court, you got a lawyer, you have a relationship with your lawyer. Like that is a partnership, that you are choosing them to represent you. You think they're the best person. Boom. That is a relationship right there. So this house also deals with a couple of different things: divorce, separations, problems, fighting within the relationships, lawsuits as well. So there's definitely a lot going on with the specific house. The good thing about this house is that the sign that it falls in can also show you how to deal with those kind of things, and if you're dealing it with them in healthy ways. So for example, I'm trying to pick a sign to use as an example for this. So let's say that you have, Aries in your 7th house, okay? If you have Aries in your 7th house, this is going to make your relationship style very, very different. This also makes it so you can be a little bit flighty, because the thing about Aries is that sometimes it's hard to pin them down because they're a fire sign. And so fire signs can be a little bit difficult pinning them down. That includes with, you know, any type of the relationships, business relationships, whatever, because sometimes they outgrow things. And if whatever that thing is that they were in partnership with that can't keep up with them, they will move on without you. So when it comes to, like, for example, in a lawsuit type of situation, let's say 7th house in Aries gets a lawsuit or whatever. With that 7th house energy being in Aries, there is a really good energy there for it to be resolved very quickly, for it to become into agreements very quickly, just because Aries is a very fast moving energy. And so it's not going to have the patience to go through a 5-year lawsuit situation. It's just going to be like, okay, how can we resolve this? Let's settle, let's have a settlement agreement on the side. You know, like, depending on what sign you have in your 7th house, it really can say how your energy in relation to those areas, how quickly you move through them, how the opportunities you have in them, the weaknesses that you might have in them, how you can get deceived into certain capacities. If you have like a 7th house in Pisces, I would be very mindful about the things that I lie about in that case, because that can be a little bit harder to deal with and explain later. Granted, it isn't in your nature, but I still would be very mindful of like white lies and stuff like that, because it can ultimately get you into a lot of trouble later on. So this specific house deepens the 5th house connection. So where in the 5th house you were having fun, you were having pleasure, you were having all these things. When you hit Libra, it's all about balance. So it brings the question of, oh my God, like, you balance me out. And this goes hand in hand with like business relationships as well. You understand the business idea, the concept, the vision that I have for this business. And you're the only one that I can see that I can bring this to fruition with me. So I need you on my team. I need you to help me bring this into fruition. It's all about those scales. You're bringing things to the scales with Libra energy, because it really comes through with the scales. Is how do you balance each other out, and how do you see yourself being in that balance? And the sign that falls in there tells you how you attain your balance within that sign, within that specific house. So it's very important to pay attention to the significance of the 7th house, because the 7th house is more long. It's more of a long-term house. It has a long-term impact. Every single thing that it rules, whether it be enemies to lawsuits to divorce, all of those things have a longer-term impact into your life. They have a bigger presence. They have a higher impact. It's not just 5th house energy. We're having fun in the club and we were dancing and that's it. No, it's like, oh no, I married this person and this is what happened. You know what I mean? Like, or now you're in a lawsuit with this person and whatever the hell. So it has a big focus, and you want to make sure you're looking at the energy of the sign and how do they relate to this specific house, because some signs will be more flimsy than others and will not be able to really hold on to the energy or use the energy in a good way. There are some signs that cannot do 7th house energy well. I'm talking to you, my 7th houses and Geminis. Okay, you guys are great for meeting a bunch of people, but you will definitely be liking a couple of different people, or like just going through like a little bit of a maybe dating more than one person at a time type of thing, and that's just who you are, and that's fine if that's who you are. But it changes your relationship energy. So your 7th house tells you what your relationship energy is, how you like to hold your relationships, what you would benefit from those relationships, and is all through the lens of those signs. Okay, woo, guys, this is a lot, but we're getting through it. Okay, it's an hour, Abby. Let's go. 8th house energy. 8th house, we're in a fixed house, y'all. It's funny that this is a fixed house because it's a very transformative house, and it is a house that really shines a light into a lot of different things. 8th house is definitely the entire opposite of the 2nd house, because the house, while it is the house of owning and buying, attaining and valuing things, the 8th house is not, this just died, you just lost this, you in debt because of this. It is a house of really losing stuff. It's definitely a lot. It's definitely a lot. This is also the house that you have to make sure that since it comes right after the 7th house, it does take, again, you're going through the journey with Aries through each house. So once you already hit that 7th house, you have a partnership of some kind. When you hit the 8th house, it becomes a joint thing. So let's say you married someone and they have bad financial habits. You just married into some bad financial habits. So you will have to either transform that through the 8th house, or you will end up getting buried within the 8th house energy. I'm just saying. So this house is one of the really craziest house because it covers so many things: debt, sex, inheritances, like a lot of generational issues, past life issues, taxes, the occult, witchcraft, bankruptcies, your partners, again, your financial money, your partner's possessions as well, things that they own, houses, cars, whatever. It also signifies the things that you need to release, the things that you need to let go. Again, it's all Scorpio energy. How Scorpio uses this energy, it clarifies the truth a lot within the 8th house, because what happens within the 8th house is that you end up shining a light on what is and what isn't. So that includes if you married someone and they don't have a lot, you then discover after the fact that what was and what wasn't. And so there's a lot of illumination through this house. A lot of psychic abilities come from this house as well. All of the water sign houses are very much points of like clairvoyance, points of psychic abilities, points of intuition. So looking at which houses you have in those areas will tell you a lot about those energies, about those houses, how they're manifesting. All houses, and this is a really cool thing to do for people who have their houses not I'm sorry, their house is not in the same alignment of, you know, how the houses are, you know, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, but having like, if you have your Sag rising in your second house, then goes into Capricorn, and then going through and having it in a different place, then you can actually see, okay, so how do I use this energy? How do I work better with this energy? What do I focus on through this energy? All of that jazz. So there's definitely a lot with this house, and it can be a little bit complicated. It can deal a lot with a lot of things, and definitely when you go into working with the energy, especially at different points in your life, it can deal with a lot of different issues, because like deals with inheritance, it deals with debt, it deals with sex, like it gets activated in different ways. This house is very much sacral chakra energy with manifestation, manifesting with your partner. This is when you get into a lot of sacral work with your partner. This is when it's really good to do spell work and stuff like that with your partner in order to manifest together as a partnership versus alone. So it is a very powerful house to do a lot of work through, do a lot of past life regression work, do a lot of death work. It's just a really powerful house. But it is a fixed house because this house is all about transformation and healing. Okay. And this is once you allowed your sixth house, you illuminated yourself through the sixth house in order to get that healing done, looking at your eighth house and seeing how you need to apply, how you will have to apply yourself in order for you to receive that healing. But at the end of the day, the whole point of this house is to transform in order to become more powerful. When you just went through the seventh house, you created a partnership, right? You go into the eighth house, you're supposed to transform through that relationship, become more powerful, have more, gain more, inherit more from life, not just your own life, but having that on a collective, on that, you know, partnership life together, thriving more. So you can either let the energy of your partner's house or your house and other sign in this house overwhelm the other, and you have to carry the weight of the other, or you could just focus on doing the healing work and transforming that house altogether. Depending on which sign falls into this house will tell you and will hint at you what work you need to do. For example, my eighth house in Aquarius. So a lot of the work that I need to do falls under right in technology, and I will have to use technology, use my friends, use society, use a collective, work with others in order to have a healthy eighth house energy. That also means that other people, the collective, trigger my own healing. That includes when I'm traveling, when I'm connecting with people, whether online, what I'm reading, what I'm educating myself with. All of these different things have a huge impact on my transformations, my health, my healing. That also means that I will have a lot of luck with using technology to gain money. You see how I'm just straight up reading myself? Eighth house energy. Looking at your eighth house energy shines a huge light on how you can navigate the eighth house productively, transform productively. Having the eighth house, like my eighth house in Aquarius, also signifies that I'm working with my crown chakra a lot. Okay. You can also go ahead and write down, when you're going through this entire video, go ahead and write down all of your houses. I should have said that in the beginning, my bad. Go ahead and write down all of your houses. Go through every single house and everything I said, and start writing down what sign you have there, what energies you carry, what things you need to fix, all of that stuff, because that's going to help you navigate your life a lot easier. Ninth house, one of my favorite houses. This is the house of travel, higher education. Okay, we talked about the third house. We talked about how you're educated, how you communicate the things that you're educated. This goes hand in hand. Ninth house, third house energy. When somebody is miseducated, these are the two houses that are triggered. So when you have, like, you know, Trump supporters and people out here trying to say, oh, that's not, that's fake news, their ninth house and the third house, there is not, the education is not accurate. It is fake news. I'm sorry, I had to do it. But there is this energy of understanding when it comes to the ninth house. The ninth house is ruled, oh, I forgot to mention the eighth house is ruled by Pluto. I think I said it. Ninth house is ruled by Jupiter. Okay, Jupiter. Sagittarius rules the eighth house. This is a very, 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 very lucky house, because what you're taught matters. What you're taught will be triggered through your luck and opportunity. This is the house, because it is ruled by Jupiter. It is a very expansive house. This house, depending on the sign that it's in, if it's in a fixed sign, y'all, it's going to be really hard to budge some of those viewpoints, some of those ideas from some people because they might have a hard time navigating their own perception, what they were originally taught, if they think that's the right way and that's the right way, period, they're not going to change their mindset. It's really hard for them to actively decide to do so. So the 9th house, 3rd house have a huge connection together, and one goes hand in hand with the other. 9th house, what you learn, the schooling, the education, this goes into religion, this goes into law, this goes into learning, how you learn your philosophy in life, your ethics, your journeys that you take, whether literally traveling or like the journeys that you're taking within a company, or you're taking within a project, or if you're taking a journey like through school, or like even that journey of like the education journey. That's a pretty long, especially in the United States, it's really long. All of that, your ideas, your wisdom, the books that you get, if you wanted to publish a book, 9th house. If you want to, the rituals that you do, 9th house energy. Why? Because you would have had to either get passed down that knowledge or come up with that ritual based on some other knowledge, based on your study in the craft or whatever the case may be. It's a very studious house. It's one of my favorite houses, a very powerful house to educate yourself, to evolve yourself, to make your life more productive and better, because when you're learning, you're actively able to get inspired by different things. It feeds into so many different things, and it connects you to that 3rd house, because what you are communicating a lot of the time is what you already learned. Boo, okay. So it's a very powerful house to do a lot of work in, because this is the house of knowledge, what you know, while the 3rd house is the house of how you communicate what you know. And so it is a powerful house to do a lot of growth, figure out your dreams, expand your minds, and actually when you're working with the 9th house energy, it's fun because Jupiter is constantly trying to expand that specific house's energy. So whatever sign falls into that specific house, you have a lot of knowledge and always kind of curiosity peaking within that house space. So it's really, really nice because you get to explore a lot of different topics if you want to. You get curious. It's almost like one thing leads to another kind of energy and vibe. And with this house, you can actually heal a lot of different issues that are happening in other houses. So it's all about education. It's all about allowing your curiosity to have a say or a forefront. It's all about not thinking outside of the box, allowing yourself to think out of the box, and being mindful of what the things that you are perceiving. And also, when you're in conversation and communication with someone else who doesn't know the shit that they're talking about, this is when the 9th house gets a little bit of triggered, okay? Because your 3rd house will be like, you don't know what you're talking about. And you will know why. You'll have the whole list of why, the educational aspect of why. And so this is when, fact checkers and people who'd like to put out miscommunication and a lot of different like things into society that are not good for society. This is when you have a lot of the issues, and why people get so frustrated with people putting misinformation and not facts and not valuable information. Like it's all about controlling the narrative, which is misusing the 3rd house energy. When we're trying to control the narrative of the collective, is misusing the 3rd house energy, is also misusing the 11th house energy. We're gonna talk about it in a bit. And it creates a lot of problems for society because then they're not able to use the 9th house and expand and have that luck and opportunity from the knowledge that they have attained. So education throughout life is really, really important because you're always able to push yourself and grow productively. This is why it's always good as you're growing to do something that you've always wanted to do, take a class, do this, explore different areas, different passions, different places in the world. Because it's going to keep your life very like expansive. This is a fire house. This is Sag. This is like, I want to do it all. I just want to have my toe dipped in everywhere. Like I just want to be able to kind of do whatever I want. So this house is about not limiting yourself, not limiting your perception, and constantly learning and educating yourself. So it's a really beautiful and powerful house. And it's something that I personally do every single day. There's a lot of people out there that literally, one of the things I do, when I'm like through with my whole morning routine, I go on my phone, go on Twitter, check the news, I check what's going on, I check, the tea, I check I'll go in and I'll refresh myself with any new information. Again, my Venus is in Aquarius, so I'm a very, nerdy person, but I really, really love to just tap in with technology because technology is constantly upgrading, constantly teaching me something new. again, Aquarius energy. And that goes again with what I said earlier about 8th house in Aquarius. I'm constantly using my 8th house energy to transform myself, to shift myself, to evolve myself, which allows me to use the rest of my, aspects properly in a healthy way. Now we're going to get into the 10th house. Okay. This is the last cardinal house. Last cardinal house is the starting the fourth, the cycle again. Okay, we just talked about Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a mutable sign. It's a changeable sign. It's a constantly flowing sign. Okay, now we are in the 10th house. This is a house ruled by Capricorn. This is a house ruled by Saturn. Okay, it's a very karmic house. Why? Because this is a house of career and social status. This is also the house of the government. This is the house of literally your honor, your power within the community, your prestige, your force, like you and what you have created. So Aries goes through the first house, okay, and he goes through all of these other houses, and then he gets to the 10th house, and by the time he got to the 10th house, he would have gotten so much stuff done. There's a legacy there. There's already ways that Aries, like that, journey has led them through family, their communication style, led them through their pleasure, how they have fun, how they heal, how they transform, how they learn, how they educate themselves. And then by the time you get to the 10th house and you're like, okay, well, this is who I am, y'all. This is what I do. This is me. Like, this is literally the 10th house. It's a really powerful house because it can be very egotistical to an extent. It highlights financial success. It highlights abundance. It highlights community, having the connection to the community and who you're known for, how you're known, why you're known the way you're known. It's just a very powerful house, a very stable house. It can have a lot of, it's definitely, it reflects on the 2nd house energy as well, because while the 2nd house can be very materialistic, the 10th house, you are really the materialistic kind, you in a sense, you yourself, who you are something of value. What you give, what you bring forth is meaningful, and that ultimately gets highlighted through your 10th house energy. And so the 10th house wants success. Again, this is a Capricorn house, y'all. Okay, it's all about goals, success, achieving success, attaining success, long-term success. Okay, it is a very karmic house. If you play with 10th house energy, you're gonna get burned. So if you try to, cheat your way out of something, or you kind of threw someone over the bus, or like within like your work environment, and because you were trying to get a promotion, that karma will end up coming up to you. This still is a very karmic house, and this house really signifies, especially for some people, they get a lot of, they trip. They'll have moments of tripping. This is when you have your government officials who will have like legislation and stuff, and then will get caught doing something wrong, and will lose their status. They will lose, because they did something wrong. This is the legacy house. This is your legacy house. It's a very serious house, very powerful house, because Capricorn energy does not play. It's all about that social status. It's like, okay, I'm walking into the room. This is who the F I am. You think Jeff Bezos is just out here walking into the room like, I'm not motherfucking Jeff Bezos? No, I'm motherfucking Jeff Bezos. That's who the fuck I am. And so there is this energy of status. There's this energy of walking in, knowing your self-worth, knowing your work, knowing what you have achieved, knowing who you have in your arm, knowing what you like, and living through that, and just saying, hey, yeah, this is who I am. This is what I bring to the table, period. Like, this is Beyonce energy, okay? I'm be fucking Beyonce, okay? So it's a very much, I have achieved success. This is like the peak, the crescendo of someone's career. This is like when people look at someone's discography, someone's like, like, they're a icon, they're this, like, this person is X, Y, C, and B. 10th house energy. Any type of old artists who are already created their whole entire career, 10th house energy. Anytime somebody mentions the word career, 10th house energy. Period. The amount of years that it takes to build 10th house energy, 10th house energy. It's all about, it's an investment into yourself and what you do, what you're known for, why you're known for it, and succeeding in it. It is what's his name? Dr. Fauci, who is, by the way, also a Capricorn, being regarded as the deceased expert, because he's done it for like, I think like what, 40, 50 years. Like, my God. But again, legacy, period, legacy, like, period, legacy, period. Like, it's really what it is. At the end of the day, when people remember you, they remember your 10th house energy. This is the period in the cardinal houses. This is the, and I'm done. This is the mic drop within your life, because especially for those who have a very public sense of sharing with the public, there is this legacy standing within the 10th house energy and what you bring to society and how they remember you. And a lot of people have a lot of egotistical issues with this house, and that's how you know if it's healthy or if it's not healthy, by the way. Also, a lot of misuse within this house kind of come up in the way that you relate to certain things, recognition, your achievements, how you react to it. Are you someone who likes validation, or like it depends on how you relate to having a very healthy 10th house. But because the 10th house deals with the government as well, it also connects to your belief system, and how you, like, the things that you actually believe in, the things that you actually fuel personally, the things that you like to contribute to society. All of these kind of aspects, they play a huge role, because again, your 10th house is a legacy house. So you can be known as someone who's like, take another Capricorn that annoys me, R. Kelly, who obviously had built his career, he has his own legacy, but then had misused his 8th house energy and his 5th house energy because it relates to children. And basically now his legacy is tainted. So there are many ways to harm your 10th house energy, and it has a huge impact on your life, because there is a lot of regret that happens through the 10th house energy. There's ways to overcome it, and if you look at your 10th house sign, you will get hints on how you will be perceived and how you, like, what kind of stability you have. I would recommend having like an earth sign within the 10th house. That it's a better kind of energy for it, because the 10th house needs more grounding more than anything else. It just needs more grounding more than anything else. I'm just gonna say that. It's good to have an earth sign in that 10th house. However, having other signs in there doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It signals how you will be using your 10th house energy. So there's people who all have like water energy, or even like if you have a Pisces 10th house, it definitely signals that your career social status will deal with on a creative sense. And you might just be a very creative person, and you're going to have a legacy within your creativity. So it's not all bad. I'm just saying, as far as having a long-term stability, because that Pisces in the 10th house can also be like, you're going to end up being revealed as a liar, and you're not going to be trusted by society. Like, it depends on what planets sit in there and all that kind of stuff, like all the jazz, how your 10th house is being aspected. Like, it depends. But it's still important to look at this specific sign, because it's going to signal to you like, hey, all of the benefits, all of the qualities of that sign, I am taking into my career social status. This is how I'm going to shine. This is how I am going to not only will make my money, but make my career. This is who I am. So it's a very powerful house to look at. And it also talks about power, by the way. This is why huge focus on the government, huge focus is on, you know, the people who have a hand in controlling a lot of things. So again, Jeff Bezos and stuff like that, those type of people who have like a powerful hand in controlling different aspects, not only how it affects other people, but just have a really powerful say or voice with money or whatnot to make changes and stuff like that. That also deals with 10th house energy. Now we're going to get into 11th house energy, y'all. 11th house, ruled by Aquarius, also ruled by Uranus energy. Very, very fun house. This is a house of friendships, community, society, technology. Okay, Uranus is it rules technology. So Aquarius energy rules technology. This is a very collective, socially collective sign because of society. This is large groups. This is your friends. This is how you treat your friends. This is your memberships. This is your focus is very much deeply connected to the crown chakra as well. Think of the energy of Aquarius, water bearer, okay? You are connected to the crown chakra. What do you bring to society? How do you water society? What are you bringing to the conversation? What are you bringing to the group? What are you bringing to your friends? Like how this specific, the sign that sits in your 11th house tells you if you're gonna have a lot of friends or if you're not gonna have a lot of friends, if you don't trust a lot of people, if you like to talk to the collective, if you don't like to really involve yourself too much, if you like to be a little bit more withdrawn. This specific house is a powerful house because you have moments where you can feel alone, or you have moments where you just can connect with so many people, or you can have a lot of luck and opportunity within the 11th house. The 11th house, when is really nice, you know, nicely aspected, you can have a lot of luck communicating with multitudes of people. This is the house where people get like become like influencers, social media, like have huge social media followings and stuff like that, growing like a platform, growing like a business in that way. Having a well aspected 11th house deals with those areas because it just taps into the social consciousness. You're tapping into society. It's like saying, hey, I'm here, this is what I do, this is what I love, whatever, or hey, this is what I'm known for. This person just will be known for that specific thing. So it's a really powerful house to how you connect with society, because we just moved away from this, you know, 10th house energy of like power, focus, this is who I am, y'all, this is my legacy, to now, okay, this is my legacy, but this is also how I connected with my legacy with the other people. This is how other people see me as well. This is how we interact. This is why my legacy is the way it is, and this is why it's important. And so 11th house with Aquarius energy is a really powerful energy to look at. This is also deals with a lot of like different organizations and things that people might want to like volunteer for, or even work for, or even get inspired to help others, help animals, help, like it's just a very powerful house. And you can see, depending on the sign that you have there, what it means and how to kind of deal with it as well. Having like, for example, a 11th house in like Scorpio, for example, you're not going to have a lot of friends because you're not going to trust a lot of people. But the people that you trust, you're going to trust. They're going to be long-term friends, but they're not going to be, you know, there's not going to be a lot of friends. And it, like, I highly doubt, you could literally be a Gemini with a Scorpio in the 11th house, and I still would say, because Geminis will have friends up the wazoo, they just have a lot of friends naturally. That's just what Geminis do. But regardless, having Scorpio in the 11th house, no. There's just like this, I don't trust too many people type of energy. Having Virgo in the 11th house can play a very similar role to that. Having like Leo in the 11th house is like a very showy, very shiny, like very like having a lot of people like you. Having like Taurus in the 11th house has like very grounding, like friends that you've had for a really long time. So it really depends on what sign you have fall there, but it's a very powerful house to do a lot of evolution through society and work and heal through with your friends. And one of the practices that I like to have is like when you tell a friend like, hey, I just started working out or something like that, it makes you actually want to achieve it just because you told someone else. There's certain ways to use like that energy in order for it to be productive and fun. And actually get some work done. Y'all, I've been talking for like an hour and 30 minutes. Oh my God, and I'm now on the 12th house. Okay. All right, y'all. This video is going to take 5 years to upload. Oh, let me not say that. Okay, so 12th house. We have now reached, oh, by the way, the 11th house is a fixed sign energy. This is why when you have like those kind of friends, especially depending on the sign that is in that house, for the most part, this is one of those houses that you keep them for a regular amount, like a good amount of time or a healthy amount of time. There's obviously some people will be cycled out, but it will have, because Aquarius is still ruled by Saturn, there's still the stability that comes from the friendships that you have and stuff like that. So yeah, I just want to note that. Sorry. 12th house, Pisces, mutable energy. This is the ending, okay, through the astrological journey. This is a very reflective house. This is another one of the really, really, really like highly misunderstood houses aside from the 8th house. Super misunderstood. This is a house of the subconscious mind, Pisces house. And of course it would be misunderstood because Pisces is a very confusing sign. It's a very all over the place sign. It's a very gray area sign, and that's exactly what it's supposed to be. It is the sign of the subconscious. This house is ruled by Neptune. This is a more okay, this house deals with a lot of different things because it deals with all areas of illusion, all areas of creativity, all areas of like hidden stuff, things that are in the shadows, things that are unknown. This is hiding the truth in plain sight. Like, this also deals with keeping secrets, hiding love affairs, while, you know, like the other houses, like fifth house will be like you having the affair, having the pleasure from the affair. The 12th house would be you hiding the affair from whoever you're hiding the affair from. This would be a lot of different things that go through this house. This house deals with like suicide. This house deals with like murder to some extent, mysterious murders, unexplainable murders, wanting to like escape from something, like wanting to like run away. Like, this is a very like all over the place house. Very subconscious mind, very focused on like dream work focus. This is also a very mental health house, guys. When this is badly aspected, it can hint at issues within the mental health. This also deals with karmic debt as well, and how it plays out into your life, because it's a very subconscious house. You won't right away be able to notice what's going on and why the cycle's being repeated and stuff like that. It's definitely hard on the mental illness part, but it definitely 100% comes from this house. This is also a very spiritual house because Neptune rules spirituality, so 100% comes from the 12th house energy. And from everything that I just mentioned, because a lot of it seems like it's bad, and then we have some good stuff, you can see based on the sign that sits in this house how you're using this energy, how it's coming up in your life, how to kind of work with the sign that is in that house. It is better to have a water sign in this house. I'm not gonna lie to you, it is definitely better. Sometimes we'll have a little bit of a harder time dealing with 12th house energy. Like, for example, having Aries in the 12th house is a little bit hard, because I find that people with Aries in the 12th house have trouble sleeping, have trouble resting, and because the 12th house, it is very much deeply connected to dreams. They have a really hard time navigating that. And having it badly aspected, having a planet there, especially a harsher planet in the 12th house, makes it so there's some issues there, some focus there, but it definitely highlights some past life work, how those past lives are coming up. If you're dreaming about like someone and you never met them, or if you're dreaming about a certain situation, or even if you're going through a spiritual transformation or spiritual healing and you get triggered specifically, whether it be on a spiritual level, through Reiki, through sound healing, through whatever the thing is, getting triggered into some experiences, that's 12th house energy. It is a very powerful house. It deals with a lot of depth. All of the water houses can have a lot of negative connotations attached to them because they're a little bit harder to deal with, because you can have 4th house family trauma, 8th house death and debts and issues there, and it just a lot of death going on. And then 12th house mental issues, going through feeling alone, suicide, all of these kind of aspects. It plays a huge role into the 12th house. And it is, I forgot to mention, 8th house is a house of the unconscious mind, so the things that you're not necessarily aware of. I think I mentioned it. I don't know, I've been talking for an hour and a half, guys. I think I mentioned it. Okay, so yeah, 12th house, very, very much focused on that specific energy, on why it's important to have these reflections, hold reflections. This house is also very deeply connected, and depending if you look at your therapist, what sign they are, how they're triggering you on your 12th house, I'm just saying, if you can get that information, I would look at it, because you would kind of be able to see if your therapist is even going to help you, depending on how they're aspecting this, how that connection is working through. There's also the house that deals with like hospitals, that deals with like being imprisoned, or like being isolated, or dealing with like different aspects of different aspects of life that you might be like confused about or find just like not understanding certain things, and or having different things come up to you in your consciousness that you're not fully being able to put together. Like it's almost confusing. It's like this is one of the houses you want to do a lot of spiritual work through, because it is a very spiritual house. This is one of those houses that you want to do a lot of dream work with, because it's very much about dreams as well. But it can be a journey to work through and heal through the 12th house, because again, Aries went through this journey, and it's like you're kind of having to deal with all of this, you know, all of the things that went along the journey. It's the same with like when you're looking at tarot and the Fool's journey through the major arcana. At the end of the day, at the ending is the World card. There's still this conclusion, this reflection, this lesson that had to be learned, and sometimes some lessons are harder to learn than others. So there is this reflecting house energy, and because this energy is just, it can deal with so much, how you deal with grief, pain, just so many layers of who you are. It can definitely be hard to overcome certain things if this, depending on the sign that's in this house. So definitely make sure that you're looking at what sign falls into this house for you, and how you deal with your dreams. Write down like, hey, I don't have a lot of dreams, or I get a lot of dreams, or I get confused messages, or my intuition, I feel like I have a very strong intuition, or I feel like I need to work on it more, or it's a lot of work that needs to be done with this house. It's a lot of care. There's a gentleness that needs to be had with this specific house, because Pisces is a very, very gentle sign. As much as Pisces does a lot of things that can be very annoying, like the lying and some of the things, okay, there's still this kind of handling with care energy that has to come from the 12th house, and making sure that you're handling yourself with care. And if you have a child, making sure you're handling their 12th house with care as well, having that awareness so you're not triggering someone in the wrong way, and then they're dealing with trauma from it. So it's a very, very sensitive house to deal with, and it's a very important house to deal with, because it's such a spiritual house, such a very fluctuating house. I feel like it's a little bit all over the place. That's the way that it's always come off to me. And while we have like so many other spiritual houses with like the 8th house and 9th house at being very well educated, the 12th house still has a focus on, and it tells you how you will deal with a lot of like these life kind of flows, because Pisces is connected to the ocean and going through, the ocean waves. It's very much, sometimes it's highs, sometimes we're at our highs, and sometimes we're at our lows. We just go through the influx. We go through life the way it is, and so it can be very, very complicated, very complex. So that is the 12 houses. That was a lot. This video is going to be a lot, and I hope that y'all got what you needed to get and receive from it. Definitely make sure that you take the notes down. And we're going to do more astrology videos on the channel, so definitely stay tuned. If you want to become a member, don't forget to hit the join button, because we always do like the weekly vote for the videos. So if you wanted to vote on a topic or shoot out a topic, you can go ahead and do that as well. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get notified every time I upload. And the Patreon link will also be down below if you guys wanted to check that out. I will definitely make sure to see you guys in the next video. I love y'all. I talked a lot today. I know I said I wasn't going to, but it happened anyway. Anyway, I love you guys. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.